Hey, in Singapore yet?
In Singapore yet. I fly out in 2 days or 3 days. Marco and I are going to a Trump rally when I get back.
Oh yeah.
So that is on literally. So the Marina Bay Sands won't let me change the flight schedule. So I have to fly all the way to Vegas on the 26th. You know, when you cross the date line, you get the day back. So you land sometimes before you take off.
Yeah.
So that's Saturday the 26th, 27th in New York City, the Trump rally. Then
Oh, Madison Square Garden. I heard about that. Nice.
yeah, and then on I think Tuesday, I have to be in Vegas to speak at the JamarCon. And then 31st, I'll be in Minneapolis with Jack Lynn
Right.
and film his book.
3 days I fly to Dubai to fix the residency stuff, and I should be in LA for our election night.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, people aren't coming to this. We probably haven't been sending out emails to let people know because that's how people are. You know, we have meetings that people don't, if you don't send out the email, people won't come.
No. I put a message in office hours chat.
Okay, good. See Carlos Gill for dinner tonight. I've got
Nice.
a ticket for the Small Business Success Summit, which I might pop in for a couple hours. And then we're going to promote our dollar a day thing with Get Response. So the Get Response team's getting going on that. Great.
Is their headquarters still in Dallas for Get Response?
Get Response? No, they are headquartered in Poland.
Oh, right. Okay,
But they
gotcha.
just chose the spot in Dallas to film for some reason. They've chosen various spots to film based on where their people are and video studios and Carlos's schedule. Oh, they were in Dallas because of Vid Summit, big influencer conference.
Well, if no one shows up, we can just go through some campaigns, or I can take over if you got more.
All right, let's see. Let's make use of the time.
Yeah, let me open some stuff up. So the thing with Jeffrey we've got going right now, and if anyone comes in, you can just interrupt me and we can do
Of
their
course.
stuff. But thing we've got going with Jeffrey right now is we've got some calls going in. I'm trying to share my screen in a second, loading it up. And I don't think we have attribution done. So I like the MAA, but there's no analysis going on for what he's actually doing. Like it's
Yeah,
MAA analysis. So I don't really know
yeah.
what it was.
You've said that and I've said that,
Yeah.
but this is one of those like active listening where you say something to someone, it goes in one ear and out the other. They have no idea what you're talking about. So ask them like, hey, what do you think about this? And then I made an office hours training, a whole session just on how to tell when people are not doing MAA, even though they claim to be doing it. And of course, the answer is when they're doing what Jeffrey's doing, where there's metrics in place of analysis. They say they're doing analysis, but they just put metrics in there, right? So if you haven't seen it, you should see it, and then you can ask him, hey, check this out, right? Because most people just skip it because they think, oh, whatever, I'm not gonna. They just won't do it. They don't think it's important, right?
Yeah, it's not real MAA he's doing.
Right, and therefore the action that he's taking is not effective because it's not based on analysis. It's random. And then if we have to come and do MAA, then we're doing his job for him. That's the whole value is doing that. And so I've done MAA. I've basically done other people's jobs for them for a long time. They don't realize I'm doing their job for them because they're taking random action. They don't realize their action's random.
And I got an invoice. I don't know who it's from. Dylan Kirby, policy.
Oh, that's my engineer who's been around forever. He's building the platform stuff, all the personal brand pieces and whatnot.
Okay. Do you want me to pay him?
How much? What do you want? A couple $100?
500.
Yeah, he should pay. He's been with me for 17 years, and he's one of the most honest, most amazing, most reliable, most competent. I mean, he's like everything. He never Josh Healy's out and goes crazy and starts like making random recommendations that have nothing to do with reality or that kind of stuff.
All right. Yeah, I'll pay that. It's like $500. I'll pay that invoice today.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. So this is the turf thing. What we're doing with Chris. I got off a call with Chris at about 11 p.m. last night.
Okay.
He wants to double down, and I kind of agree with him just on the Louisville because he's got the Tampa location, the Sarasota location, and he's kind of doing everything. Like he's very just spread out, which is kind of hard. So
well, does he realize that we're actually doing multiple businesses for him? That's not the way it should be done. But we're making an exception, and of course, you got to be very careful with making exceptions. But does he know that? Because the thing is, when you open one exception, they start opening up lots of exceptions. Oh, my wife's business. Oh, this other thing. And now all of a sudden you're doing 20 businesses for the price of one. And then he's going to complain on any one of the 20 businesses, right? Now all of a sudden you have a whole agency he has a whole agency for the price of one retainer. Does he see that?
I don't think it's clear yet. He hasn't paid me so far. He's supposed to pay me yesterday. So I've been asking him again. Let's see if he actually pays the invoice.
Well, I think you should call him. And just because if you don't level set and talk to these folks, then the expectations drift further and further apart from reality. And then he's going to say, yeah, but you said you, and then I have a friend who has a business. Can you go ahead and like build this thing? And he's just going to expect it's a buffet, right? Meaning all you can eat, right?
He did say, hey, can I pay you guys another 1,000 for the new site? And I said, no. because I don't think we've gotten results yet, and I don't want to
It's
charge.
not about building a website is not about the results. Digital marketing. I mean, I don't want to explain what digital marketing is to
Yeah.
you, but I think it sort of needs to be said here because we're making a common mistake. We only want to take on businesses that qualify, that have the criteria. But we're doing something nice for him, so okay, fine. But otherwise, you're going to end up doing. I mean, I don't need to tell you, but I'll tell you one more time. The less they pay you, the more they expect, and the
Yes.
less successful they are, the more they expect. So what happens when you're doing something for nothing? And it's a brand new business that has nothing. It's the very worst combination ever. It's not to say his wife's a bad person for bring laundry to you or this other thing, but you're getting yourself into the situation that at least we have known about for 30 plus years. Unless you just, I mean, do it if you understand it. But if you don't understand it, and then later this guy complains and all that, don't complain saying you didn't know any better.
Yeah, better expectation setting. Don't spread ourselves too thin for nothing. And if we're gonna have a ton of work, that needs to be
I'm not
equal. You know?
I'm
Yeah.
not saying don't do it, but do it. But as long as we all have the right expectations, it's okay. So because it is costing us time and money, it's totally fair for him to put and 1,000's nothing because he knows if we were going anywhere else, they charge him 6 grand, 7 grand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But point being, with all this stuff, with the turf, with everything, the good news is all these businesses are Louisville businesses, especially with Litzy, who I just got off a call with earlier. So I'm hoping we
Good.
can get a big geogrid going for Louisville, that whole area
Good.
soon.
We could, but just make sure, like I've said before. I know I've said these things before, but there's a reason why they need to be said again. Where I see a problem repeating. If you see me repeat myself, it's not because I don't know any better. It's because we have a mistake that keeps coming back. When we do SEO for people, that's a long-term thing. Unless they've proven through clear expectation setting and conversation that they're here for the long term, we don't want to be putting the majority of our efforts into SEO. That's what I'm saying makes sense.
Yes. We don't want to be putting majority of our time into SEO because the expectations is that we'll get a ton of business for people that haven't already have proven businesses. And that's just not going to be a good conversation for us or them, and it's not sustainable.
Okay.
Is that
I
right?
didn't hear that. What you said is true, but it's not even the main point. Here's the main point. If we invest in doing all this SEO long-term stuff and they cancel after, like that other random girl or whatever, then A, they're unhappy because their expectations out of alignment. And then B, we're basically building them a house. We're saying, you know what, you can pay us, we're going to build you a house and you can pay us $1,000 a month. So I gave you this analogy of people being able to pay over time, as opposed to, because if you build a house, it's going to be, $1 million, right? $500,000 to build a house. But these people that they don't have a house, they want to live in a house, and we charge them $2,500 a month or whatever it is, and they cancel, but we've already built the house for them, and they don't keep paying us. We're losing money, and they're unhappy, and they're getting benefit for nothing. So I've tried it in many ways to try to explain that concept. If we put in all the effort up front for a long-term benefit, but we don't get paid because they canceled after 2 months, that's bad for everyone. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, does that make sense, or should I try another way?
It makes sense. I'm trying to reflect that back. Just I'm trying to practice active listening here too.
All right.
We don't want, we
Reflect it
don't
back.
want, yeah, we don't want to get into a situation where we're doing a ton of work on our end. So it's the work at our end for people that aren't going to be with us the long term. Use the house analogy. So in other words, we don't want payment plans on a house, and we don't want that to be them to just be able to quit halfway through. That makes no sense. SEO is a long-term game, and we need to make communication that to build a house, it's going to take a few months. It's not going to happen in a week. Then also, just for long term, we don't want to churn clients because then that makes everything harder. It makes it harder to hire people. It makes it harder to pay invoices. We just want to make sure
Those
we're in this for real people that already have results so that we build relationships which last a long time. Is that right?
those are all true. All the things you're saying are true, but it's not the main point. Even simpler. The main point is this. When we do things like SEO, our cost is significant upfront, but their payment is only temporary. So if they are a new client, we want to do PPC mainly, which is immediate results and doesn't take a lot of effort in building links and those kinds of things. If they start to demonstrate that they are a long-term client, then we can afford to invest in their SEO, which is leveraging our relationships, right? If they're a new client, like some Louisville client, and then we go to the effort of building links from all these other Louisville or HVAC businesses, that's not something you can just buy. You can, but you'll get penalized for that, right?
Right.
So it's like dating, right? You're gonna marry that girl on the first date. Who's Taylor03? Who's on mute and no video? Taylor03. Oh, here we go. Hey, Mr. Taylor. Can't hear you.
Let's try this time. How are we doing?
There you go. You're very good. How are you holding up?
Good problems, but just a lot. we got a real estate thing that's chewing a lot of time. Mom and dad are downsizing, so we're selling an 80,000 square foot building to our longtime tenant. Actually, it's Canada Dry.
Oh,
The
you
same.
mentioned them. Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to buy it. So we got another building with the roof leak. So I bought materials to cover 14,000 square feet of roof. So I'm gonna put a new roof on that one. Yeah. Just got I'm gonna ring the bell. Landed a 15,000 square foot order, an LLC called Happier. They're in New York City, big real estate company.
Okay.
And that was I don't know, one of the ads or clicks or internet hit, but it was $180,000 order. Just got the ACH. I saw half of it going in this morning. We weren't really sure, but yeah,
it's real.
Yeah, it's real. So that's when I started buying roof materials, because that's the way that works. Money comes in and it goes out just as fast, right?
Or you reinvested into more inventory, all that millions of dollars in inventory you're sitting on.
Yeah.
Wow, that is great. How did this guy find you? This New York guy?
I hadn't even had time to look it up, but I do know that CallRail caught him, and I also know it was internet. I'm not sure if it was organic or an ad or.
Well, we should look at the Google Analytics.
Yeah, I can. Let me. I'm thinking CallRail's gonna have it.
Well, it depends on how many numbers we have in CallRail, because the whole thing with CallRail is you assign numbers by channel, and you're only as granular as however many channels you have, right?
Yeah. Let's see. How y'all been doing?
Doing good. Parker and I are both about to embark on these long international trips. He's going to Dubai. I'm going to Singapore in a couple of days.
You're not at home though. I like your background.
Oh, me? Oh yeah, Dennis and me. Yeah, we're both in different places.
Yeah. Oh, came from the GMB. Okay, good.
GMB.
Yeah.
What's that? Great Britain?
The Google My Business.
Oh, real? I was
That's
thinking about
surprising.
that. So you actually went to Google.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's interesting that it was a GMB, even though you're not in New Jersey. So the nature, if we could look at let's go to your GMB and see if we can,
me?
Yeah, we pull out the search term, pull out any of the referral info. It's always key to see where it came from, right?
Yeah. And this has probably been about a month old, but the money came today.
Okay.
We've been kind of looking for it to come for about a week, but I guess they wanted to do their due diligence, and I understand it. And
right, so hit performance and click on calls, and we don't have the call detail anymore because they took that away just recently. Let's see. I don't think we have any of the details. See, just for fun, click on website clicks. I think it's not going to show us none of these show us any detail anymore. That's a shame. See, it used to be able to tell us all the calls, but Google's been taking away information because they claim privacy, but really it's because they're trying to get us to spend money on ads. And in the ads, they give us data, right? Just kind of hypocritical. All right, well, let's go to Google Analytics. Let's look at our conversion tracking in Google Analytics.
I got let me try this. I just got their phone number. So hold on.
Is that New Jersey number, the latest one?
It's a 929 number.
Okay.
Activity call search sound bench. I shouldn't cuss.
Well, you have the last 7 days.
Yeah, that did 3284. Yeah, it's the number I have. I'm not a CallRail expert. I wonder if there's a way I can go to Google Analytics. I'm like a squirrel. But I wonder if there's a way, because I know it's like in New York City. And because of that, when we wrote up the order, they actually had us write trucking paid by seller. I told David, one of our sales, so you know why I did that? He said, no. I said, because of the unions. He doesn't want to be caught, because the cost going into New York City, it's so expensive that he wanted us to write on there that we're paying for the trucking.
Okay.
I'm on and I'm still, what's your idea on, I'll tell you, it's like analytics has changed a little bit again over the last, and I haven't really caught up with some of the new terms and like key events and event, I guess this is a conversion got renamed.
Yeah, but Google's used a switch from universal to GA4 as a way to basically take away data from us, while at the same time they're claiming they're switching from web pages to events, which include apps and other things. They're just taking away a whole bunch of stuff. So we could just go to reports and then look at conversions or key events because you're on the home right now. Yep, there you go. And under acquisition or traffic, let's see. Yeah.
Now, what I typically do from here, I've never really used this to find a particular person, but I'm kind of old school. This is where I like to go. But
yeah, they disguised this from us. They used to, you can't click on the conversions anymore, but we could see, maybe what came from New York City, or you could break that out by something else, like hit the plus or add another column. But it doesn't give us the granular data. Key events, there's one there. Well, we don't know if that's, and then we have this not set. The majority of these are still on not set, which is interesting, which is the direct none not provided. So we don't, we just need to have Daniel Goodrich come in and take a look at this, because anytime I see that the combination of direct none, so direct none is 941, and that not set is huge too, 198. Or sorry, it's
139.
It's 2 plus 198. So it's 200 out of the 385. So it's half. So half of these key events, we don't even know what's going on.
It used to do a lot better, but about like 10 years ago, when Google gave us all kinds of information, then like one day, like back when we used to click the little tab for all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
And when all that disappeared, I've never just gotten that information back.
Let me just send a note to Daniel for him to take a look, and he will see what we can do to fix it. It's probably like a UTM parameter or something. He'll figure out where that direct node's coming from. Writing a note now.
It's funny. I'm searching through emails, and it's like these people are kind of elusive.
What people?
In New York, this happened, and it's also, I've never seen this. Instead of .com, it's .nyc. You ever seen that one?
Yeah, people are buying these other TLDs.
Oh,
you can buy that, because I can't open it up, so you can buy like all kinds of stuff. You dot whatever you want. You could open up your own thing. All right, let's send it to Daniel.
Hey, David. Yeah. Who was the first person from Happier to call? You got his number? You don't have Archie's number? Look on the first quote.
812-929-257-328.
What's that number again?
257-328.
Oh, I got him. This cat right here.
Happy customer.
And that's automation. Oh, son of a bitch. Check that out. Bam.
It is GMB. Okay.
Queens.
Oh, we should probably pimp out the GMB a little bit more then, shouldn't we?
That's interesting. I don't know why I would have thought that. Yeah. Search. Good old fashioned SEO.
People have always proclaimed the death of SEO for years because they think social media is so cool and sexy.
That's $180,000 click.
That's a pretty good click.
Yeah, it's an elusive one to get. I've gotten a couple of them like that, but it is cool when it starts to work like that.
Yeah. Well, I sent a note to Daniel Parker to schedule a time to get that tracking. That's the more we can figure out what's working, the more we can laser focus our efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I know lately, the past couple of months, I just hadn't had time to do much extra stuff on this side because the business has just been taking a lot of attention, and like even today, because also at the same time, we have another building, a longtime tenant. It's another 80,000 square footer, and our tenant is Lineage Logistics. And they're now the country's largest cold storage place. But we started with cold storage.
Cold storage, okay.
Yeah. And we went over there today, and like the longshoremen strike messed them up bad because all of their stuff is in the ports. Their biggest thing is import-export. Like in the Richmond area, their big customers, Lidl. Everything's coming in from overseas and going out. But what they do in our building is they have a contract with Philip Morris to repair hogsheads pallets. And that is what they cure the tobacco in for 3 years while it ages. After that one use, it has to go and get analyzed and redone. But with everybody slowing down on cigarettes, Philip Morris is drastically shrinking. And not really public, but they are way down, a lot down. And so now they're all the outside contracts because so many people aren't, or they're not as busy making cigarettes. They're taking their excess union people and excess labor and bringing those contracts back in house. So
Oh,
that's what they're doing with us.
that's
So
hurting your client.
whole,
Yeah.
yeah, so this whole division, they're bringing back inside, their house because as the crow flies, Philip Morris, their main plant here in Richmond, where they started, is only 10 miles away.
Hmm.
And, but they're moving out too. But all in all, it's funny how things work. These are all older contracts, before the run up, because most of these contract leases go by 3, 4 to 7 years. While lease rates, these were all written before the run up. So now there is no space in Richmond. So we called a couple of the brokers, and yeah, basically the rent's doubled, just like everything's doubled over the last 4 or 5 years. So is, leasable space.
That's good for you. Now you get replace that with higher paying tenants.
Yes, pretty much. And, but one of the catch-22s is the 7-Up building. We sublet back from them for manufacturing probably 20,000 square feet, 25,000 square feet of inside space. All that lumber's going outside and going under canvas. But it's kind of cool that it's not going to be outside for long because, I didn't think these guys would ever move because Philip Morris isn't going anywhere. I mean, their money, they also, you talk about tracking, they come in, they know every dollar, they know every penny. They'll let you make a little bit and they know exactly how much you're making. But when you sign a contract with them, it's like gold. You're going to get paid every single time. But, once the contract's up, they also align everything so that their contracts, and leases and labor contracts, everything's sequential. So if they want to blow up a division, everything can be blown up at the same time, vertically. And that way they can pivot.
Wow, they operate at another level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we're just a little on at the very bottom, learn a little bit along the way, but at the same time, even like our lease with Lineage, and they would always have a representative come in, and most of the time we'd know the rep too, because it was the rep's job to know every part of it. If they didn't have it in house, that their job was to know every part of the contract. So if something happened with that person, they were up to speed on the inner workings to recreate it.
There you go. Busy. Well, anything else we can work on? Anything else to share?
That's about it, but that's a gigantic one. Now, if we could figure out how to find more happier LLC companies,
well, I still owe you the analysis so we can build the custom audiences and then train the algorithms to find more of those.
Oh yeah. I figure
$1,000 clients.
Everything happens in time when it's supposed to.
We finally released this 01 preview. And the thing that I liked 2 months ago is they released memory, so it remembers our conversation, so it gets smarter and smarter, instead of like Google where you have to keep like repeating yourself or it starts over from 0 every time. So the 01 preview, which has reasoning in it, plus the memory, allows us to execute multi-step processes, which is exactly what we're trying to do for you. So this thing just came out, and I was trying to solve it in sort of this Frankenstein duct tape way, but now it's going to be a lot easier.
That's cool. Cause I get these. I went to a wedding in Fort Myers, Florida, where the hurricane hit. Oddly enough, you couldn't tell. I was talking AI with one of my young nephews who was taught that, I want to say it's not Perplexity AI. He was saying, about making your own bot. He said, try Perplexity. I said, oh, I've heard of it, but that's it. And he got trained on data analysis or something like that in the Army and is still in the National Guard. But we were just kind of talking general stuff. But he was saying that might be something. And I also heard, but I haven't played with the new ChatGPT stuff. So is that the O or something like that, to where it's supposed to be a lot? It takes more time to develop the answer, but it thinks deeper before it speaks.
Yeah. So everything prior to this advanced reasoning was done in what's called a one shot. So you would, here, I'll show you. You would ask a question and then it would just blurt out the answer. And so if I look here, so it's everything is multiple steps. So yeah, I'll just show you. So like here, if I can go back a little further. You start off with the question, hey, or actually, let me just go O1 preview. Here's an O1 preview. Okay, good. No, go see further. This one. Okay. So here's someone who manufactures custom jewelry, direct to consumer, right? And it's in, this is 4.0. Shoot, where's the, I need to O1 preview. Okay, here we go. I've got so many of these. I'm like constantly chatting with this thing. All right. Property management firm in Fort Myers. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's mention it. All right. And we need to help him because his SEO isn't working. Now it thought for 13 seconds, but it also breaks down the steps. So it said, this guy does property management in Fort Myers. He doesn't have location service pages. So let's figure out what the cities are, figure out how to expand the service areas. And then here's the priority. So obviously Fort Myers is bigger than Cape Coral, is bigger than San Carlos. Naples is pretty big, right?
Yeah.
And it's giving this. So, here's some other ones which are a little further outside, right? So I give it a little bit more information and I say, hey, what did I say? I gave it some direction. Please analyze his EAT because he's going to make a bunch of 1-minute videos about property management because he does this for these landlords and other folks that don't want to deal with collecting money from tenants and fixing, repairs and all that stuff. So I pasted in one of his pages and I said, figure out what questions he didn't ask. Right. So it's okay. Analyze the page, figure out how it rates on EEAT, and then provides the ranking. And here's things that it needs to have. But it didn't actually give us the specific questions. So I said, well, actually give it to me. Give me the specific ones so we can make 1-minute videos. And then I kind of used the shorthand. I said, using our techniques, because that's shorthand for a lot of stuff. $1 a day, digital plumbing, 1-minute videos, right? So then it thought for even longer, 16 seconds. You saw the previous one was like 7 seconds. And so what's going on is we're having this conversation and we're building up this history and the amount of memory that we have. So it's costing ChatGPT, actually OpenAI, a lot of money to do this. And the thing with search is a completely different model because Google grabs all this information, organizes it, and then just spits like a librarian, just like feeds you the one thing based on your answer. But here it's very expensive because there's a ton of processing. So Google can do this, but Google doesn't want to do it because it's this query for 16 seconds probably costs, 20 cents or so. And like as we go further, and then I'm asking more and more questions, it's getting more expensive because there's more stuff it has to store and it has to think harder. So I'm intentionally, Taylor, trying to load this thing up with as much context as possible, not just like to overload it, but with enough information so it can do a good job. And so for it to do a decent job, it has to keep thinking. And sometimes it'll think for 45 seconds or a minute where, that's like it's spending $1, $2 to answer my question. Can you imagine? Like I'm paying $30 a month. So if I talk to this thing once a day.
And you eat $30 in a day.
So if I'm going into a buffet with unlimited Kobe beef steak, and every day I come in and eat like a pound of steak, they're out of business, right? So OpenAI is losing billions of dollars a month because of people like me, because I know how to use the thing. Because what most people will do, if I come in here and I start a new chat, go here, most people are going to be on here 4.0, but I do, and the times I use 4.0 is where I have an attachment, right? So here I can have an attachment, I can take photos, I can use media, but if I don't need to work with the piece of media, I'm going to use the O1 preview, which allows multi-step reasoning. And the system doesn't tell me how much money I've spent or how many seconds it's used across all these things. But you can imagine, right? I mean, I'm having this thing do a lot of thinking, right?
Yeah.
We're having Bible studies, recommendations of stuff and, just like building our tool, right? I'm having it think about it, right? Only thought about this for 6 seconds. It's like my little guilty pleasure where like I'm trying to get the thing to think like, what can I do? How can I phrase the question in such a way that I can get it to think for like a minute, right? Because the thing is trying to be as stingy as possible for obvious reasons, right? So here, this one, I'm asking it to rewrite content for me. I'm pasting it in and 38 seconds. That's pretty good. Usually if it's thinking for more than 20 or 30 seconds, that it had to go through a lot of thinking. Right. So like one way to determine, it might even be a good quiz we could use for hiring potential people is, hey, have this conversation with ChatGPT. And if we can see that it can ask thoughtful questions and the thing is having to think for more than 30 seconds, that's probably a pretty good sign. If some random VA is talking to ChatGPT and it comes in, it thinks like 3 seconds, then it doesn't know how to ask a good. You don't know how. If you have a good conversation, it has to think a little harder. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's kind of incredible.
Yeah. So the idea of a multi-step conversation. So I have a goal. I could just come out and blurt my goal and say, generate a blog post about this. Any LLM can do that. Perplexity can answer my question, right? Perplexity thinks they're going to replace Google. Good luck. But if I first say, what do you know about E.T. Moore manufacturing? Oh, I know about this and that. And then I say, here's some things about him. Oh, he got this kind of deal. Hey, he got this lead. He just got this lead from GMB from New York. And they wanted to say the supplier pays the shipping, and I start going through, I start giving me data, I start having this conversation. So now I've warmed it up. Does that make sense? With the information about me, then I can say, okay, now that you kind of understand what we're dealing with, and you have some background information, now I'm going to feed you in some of these ugly QuickBook transactions. And I want you to help me find more people like our best customers, especially like this guy who just spent $180,000. Like, wow, they don't come very often, but we'd love to have more of that.
Exactly.
Maybe you have some recommendations on our call rail. Like I saw there's a warning in call rail saying that we're cycling through numbers too fast. Maybe we have too many or something like that. Then what should we do? I don't mean to be talking about that issue. I'm just saying I'm just saying as an example. I'm
giving
it
stuff
context.
to.
And so now I'm loading this intelligent alien brain thing with all the things I'm thinking about. And now that it has all this stuff, now it's equipped to be able to do things for me, right? But if I just come straight out and say, hey, I've got a lot of this, old lumber. Can you help me sell more of it? Well, then it's going to generate some generic nonsense.
So when we do this 1.0 where it kind of so it remembers like the 4.0 conversation to conversation. So you're saying that every time that you do this, it remembers each one of them?
It remembers things that it thinks are important, and you could even tell it, hey, this is important, or I want you to remember this, because the thing with memory is the system's trying to decide, because I'm on this weight loss journey, right? I've lost all this weight.
Yeah.
So I'm asking it questions about metabolism and supplements and how many calories does a McDonald's decaf coffee have with 10 creams, And
I need to Google the 3-point line distance too. Looked a little close to me.
Yeah. I mean, I was on it's a trampoline basketball court, so it's a little shorter.
Yeah.
It's not, I think that's, what is an NBA 3? It's like 21 feet.
I have no idea.
I was jumping from like maybe 12 feet, but it's still pretty good.
It's still awesome though. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyone that wants to,
we got a trampoline.
Me, I want to see you.
That damn thing will kick your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's you jump on that trampoline for 6 minutes, and because my daughter was a gymnast, so we got like one of the nicer ones. But yeah, trampoline, man, it's a workout.
That'll burn calories. It's some serious cardio. Yeah. So I'm asking it like, hey, I went to the trampoline park and here's my data from the Whoop, and I'll upload it. Right, I'll take a picture of it, and I'll say like, how many calories? How much fat do you think I lost today? Well, then it's based on that you ate this and this and this, and you burned 3,500 calories. You had a calorie deficit of, 1,700 calories. So you burn about half a pound of fat. And at your current rate, now it's bringing in memory. It'll say, you told me that you were, 225 pounds a year ago and you're 172. So you're losing about a pound a week now. So you're right on track with the current pace that you're on. So it pulls those things into context because it remembers, like a real human, it remembers our past conversations, right? So the more you talk to it, the more sort of like, I don't know, like attached to it you become, like the harder it is to switch. Like I don't want to switch to another AI because this AI already kind of knows so much about me. Right. And I think it's good for us because, the more I talk to it, the better it can do it because, it understands me. I want it to understand me. Google doesn't really understand me. I mean, that was like where I've been. It has my mail, but it doesn't really understand me. And it's good for OpenAI because then I'm less likely to switch. Like if you have all your stuff inside Infusionsoft, like you're not going to want to go to HubSpot or because you have all your stuff in there already, right?
You understand it.
Yeah. And most people are lazy. Like I don't have to like re-upload everything and learn a new system and
That's me.
I'm too old for that.
Exactly. I'm loyal sometimes to a fault, but I also find that people, when you just hop around at the next shiny thing, you spend so much time learning what the button does instead of the deeper thought of how to use it and when to use it.
Yeah. So I'm using, Taylor, something that's called rational ignorance, which is what you learn in advanced level economics. And that is I'm intentionally tuning out a lot of this AI noise because I have something that I've invested a lot of time into learning how to use ChatGPT. And there's other tools that do other little bits better, but the amount of time it would take me to learn all these other tools and whatever, I get such good results off of what I'm using now. Like, I just want to put more of my effort into getting real results instead of trying to learn all this new stuff. You know, it's a balance between like learning and exploring new stuff versus like, I have a tool that works pretty well. I'll just keep using this tool, you know?
Well, exactly. I tell people seriously that I tell them that my membership with y'all helps me tune out all of that stuff, because if something is truly magnificent and changes, I'm going to hear about it here within this group, and y'all will be talking about, and because yourself is going to move towards that direction. So you're the light ahead in the fog. That's all I got to do is follow the light.
So Taylor, I feel like I'm the king's taste tester, right? You know, I sample all the
Exactly.
king's food first to make sure it's okay, or the canary in the coal mine if you're a little darker.
But you're probably the most connected person I know as well. So you're in a lot of offices that not many people see the inside of. So you're going to hear, I mean, just a little bit I hear about, you know, with some, you know, the inside knowledge, your times 100, especially on this technical type stuff.